So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. John Acom, could you please lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Would you please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. Gentlemen, at this point, let's move with announcements. Mr. Rand, could you lead us with announcements this evening?
I'd be happy to. Now is the perfect time to discover all that's great about the school district of Beloit with kindergarten enrollment starting on Monday, January 27th. Parents may stop by our central enrollment office located at the Colac Education Center, 1633 Keeler Avenue, to find information on boundaries and calendars, highlights of our district, and enroll their children for school. 4K will be offered next year at all of our primary schools, as well as at Head Start for eligible families. Parents will need their child's birth certificate, immunization record, parent identification, and proof of residence, such as a utility bill. Children moving from 4K to 5K will not need to enroll at this time. For an up-close look at some of our schools and programs, check out these upcoming events. Wednesday, January 29th, is the Todd School Ribbon Cutting and Open House from 5 to 7:30 p.m. The event begins with a short ceremony in the school gym, followed by tours and refreshments, including sampling of foods from around the world and Culver's frozen custard. Tuesday, February 4th, from 5 to 6:30 p.m., is the Hackett School Ribbon Cutting and Open House, also starting with a ceremony in their school gym. Stop by and see the amazing renovations and additions granted to the students by the Beloit community. The new school entrance is located off of 8th Street. In honor of Career and Technical Education Month, we invite the community to participate in some hands-on activities in our high school CTE areas. There will even be activities for younger children to try. From the kitchen to our manufacturing area, we invite you to experience the many areas students are encouraged to explore at Beloit Memorial High School. The CTE Open House will be held on Wednesday, February 19th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at Beloit Memorial High School. We also welcome you to visit our newly redesigned website at www.beloitschools.net for more news and events and to sign up for our free e-newsletter. This concludes the January announcements.
Thank you, Mark. We're now at the point on the agenda where citizens or delegations that would like to speak to any area of interest that is not included on tonight's agenda should approach the podium. Is there anybody who would like to speak to any item that is not posted on tonight's agenda? We have an overflowing amount of individuals within our audience tonight, but yet I see nobody approaching the podium.
They're all watching from the warmth of their home.
It is very cold out tonight. So with that, going once, twice, and 3 times, I will turn it over to our superintendent for superintendent's reports to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to start out tonight with our Director of Career and Technical Education, or CTE Director is what we like to call him, Ryan Rui. And before Ryan gets started, he's going to have a couple of gentlemen that are here for a special gift to us tonight. But I also want to start out by telling you that, when we took this leap of faith to get a career tech ed director a little while back, we did it for all great reasons, and it turned out greater than we ever thought. Ryan's been a real diamond for us, and we're really proud of what we're doing right now, and we're only in the beginning of this. This is really flying along for us. So, Ryan?
First, I'd like to bring Mr. Barry Butters and Mr. Mike Reeder from Precision Plus, Inc., and they will be donating some money for Tammy Spark, who's our Project Lead the Way and engineering teacher. And Barry, would you like to?
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having us tonight. Mike and I were able to come down and tour your facility on a cold day, actually, a while back. Not this week, but a while back. Amazing facility. We want to just commend you for your vision and helping manufacturers get to the point where we're looking at the next generation of young people to add to our businesses. And it was an amazing facility and a testament to Steve's vision and Ryan and Tammy. I came back then and spoke to Tammy's class, her IED class, about what we do. We're a contract manufacturer, which means we take blueprints from customers, take bar stock, and make parts out of it. And we use the same inventor software that they use in the classroom, so I spent the day talking to her students. She talked to me about her efforts with her STEM initiatives and getting young people of Beloit involved in all sorts of different competitions. So we have a check tonight for $500 to help her out in that first purchase of a robot.
Mindstorm.
There you go. So here you go.
Thank you.
Want to say anything?
I just want to say thank you as well. Barry and I have toured a lot of different schools, between high schools, tech colleges, universities, and by far, you have hands down the best machine tool shop, that we've seen. And,
Can you go to the microphone and repeat that? I want to make sure we were recording that one.
Okay. Barry and I have toured a lot of educational facilities, high schools, tech colleges, and universities, and this is by far the best training facility we have seen, hands down. And it takes tremendous leadership and faith in the process to embark on what you've done here. And we're committed to help you along the way, as this is truly a partnership. You've got some great community businesses that are involved with it down here. We're right up I-43. We're not that far away. And if there's anything else that we can do in the future, please feel free to call upon us. Okay, thank you.
Thanks again, Larry. Ready? With that, I will move on. Thank you. To kind of the agenda for the PowerPoint. And there's actually been quite a bit going on since I've came. I started here in June, and it's been a roller coaster ever since. We have all sorts of different initiatives. We have a lot of positive things happening, and I'm appreciative that I have the opportunity to be a part of Beloit School District. In the news, one of the biggest things I think that will probably happen within my career is to have not only Dr. Tony Evers, but also the governor of Wisconsin, Governor Walker, come to tour our facility. And I think this was a validation that with Mr. McNeil and also the board being able to give us this opportunity to have the different CNC machining equipment, the upgrades, and to really have a kind of a forward-thinking vision and allowing us to kind of move students in that direction of the high-skilled professions. So it was nice that they were able to come and tour our facility. One of the different programs I think sometimes does not necessarily get associated with career and technical education happens to be art education. We have, and what we've been doing with art education is there's some new course proposals in the Digital Art 2 class, which will allow for more animation. It'll allow for the Adobe Photoshop program to get more in depth. There's also an advanced placement art history course. One of the things we want to do is look into the stylus options for students, which allows them to write and use it's almost like a pen or a pencil, and they're able to create on an iPad using a stylus. On Friday, I will be speaking with a gentleman, Lewis Diggs, from Toon Boom Animation, and that is really for storyboard development, and it's animation software, and I'm really looking for those options for students, and I'll be speaking with staff as well to see what kind of direction they want to go with the animation phase within art education. Business education. Again, we have some different course proposals: introduction to coding, application development, game design and AP programming, or computer science. With Act 63 coming down the pike in 2016 and 2017. Our computer science courses will be able to apply as a math credit, the 3 science credits as well as the 3 math credits. One thing that the business education staff decided to participate in with students was what was called the Hour of Code. And what that did, all the business education teachers, along with one of the tech ed teachers, they had students participate in the Hour of Code. And what that did is the goal was to get 10 million people to actually try coding for 1 hour. And they actually had over 22 million people. And we had 450 students from Beloit Memorial participate in this event. We had 35 FBLA students participate in our regional competition. One would have been, for instance, sports and marketing, or simply marketing, along with some other different competitions that they were able to do. And I believe a lot of it you can start the competition online. And if you succeed past that, then you're able to go to a state competition as well. The FBLA students also participated in a Don't Text and Drive campaign. And I had an opportunity to go down and watch the students begin creating, and they were actually using their iPads and videotaping themselves, doing an iMovie, and really editing with the software for this Don't Text and Drive campaign. We had 11 DECA students also participate in a regional competition. The Beloiter, the BMHS Beloiter yearbook has added interactive video. We have 6 full classroom sets of iPads that are currently being used in the business education department to enhance their lessons. And I think the students appreciate having that interactive technology in their fingertips. They're planning on the different field trip opportunities to New York, Los Angeles, as well as Chicago. And we're also continuing with mock interviews with a partnership with the GBDC and also the English department. Family and Consumer Sciences. On February 5th, we're going to be hosting Blackhawk Technical College in some of the surrounding districts to highlight our program as well as discuss the different articulation agreements. And in a sense, we're really kind of considered one of the program models in family consumer education. Excellent facility in the night spot, as well as the instructor, in that partnership with Airmark. Our youth apprenticeships, we currently have 16 students in youth apprenticeship with Blackhawk Technical College. Our co-op students, we have currently have 3 students in the CNA program and 16 in the early childhood internship class. I also met with the instructor, Mr. Capizzello, and he was able to speak with Blackhawk Technical College parents and students regarding youth apprenticeship. And really this was a meeting about how do I get my students signed up, what is the paperwork process, and the details behind youth apprenticeship. This event we were going to have students attend the Department of Workforce Development hands-on expo. However, school was canceled, and they still had the event, but we didn't feel it was necessary to send the students out in the bitter cold, and we asked that they stay back, so they were not able to attend that event. The Night Spot hosted the business after hours, and this was catered by our instructor and Airmark, as well as the students. And then following this business after hours, we were able to tour the updated CTE area as well as the new pool. Technology and engineering. Some of the course proposals that we have, and one is exploring technology, and what that course is, it's really something to have students experience a variety of different things in career and tech ed, particularly in the technology and engineering area. We want to have students have an opportunity to be in manufacturing, in the construction area, in the cabinet making area, in the engineering area, and that will kind of give them a a sense of what they would like to pursue. So if they really like that engineering area, they can decide, well, I want to take our Project Lead the Way courses or engineering courses. If I really like the construction area, I can take the construction program. And that's really, I think, we typically had a blueprint reading course, and it's an excellent course, but it doesn't necessarily draw the students in. And we really want to be able to be a part of having students continue to want to participate within our career and tech ed area. Our automotive advisory committee is meeting to discuss, or actually we met to discuss the NATEF facility certification. And this is a National Automotive Technicians Education Foundation. We will be having a gentleman come in to look at curriculum. They'll look at the program. They'll look at the tooling. They'll look at the instructor certification. And then they will sign off and hopefully sign off and make sure that our facility is NATEF certified. An event that the students will be going to is a Chicago Auto Show. From past experiences, when students have an opportunity to go to the McCormick Center and see the different technology and the new vehicles, it really gives them a sense of, this is something or kind of a program that I'd like to pursue and be a part of. We purchased some new equipment through the Carl Perkins grant for our cabinet making classes. We have a new Powermatic dual drum sander. We have an edge sander as well as a new panel saw, which allows you to cut plywood. So those are excellent additions for us, the program. We also have, we purchased a saw stop table saw, and that was through the Alliant Energy grant, and that was a $2,500 grant, and we were able to get a contractor saw with that. We just submitted our Youth Career Connect grant, and this is a $100 million federal grant, and they're handing out between or awarding 20 to 40 different awards between $2 and $7 million. So that was just submitted last Friday, and hopefully we're able to achieve to get that grant. So one of the big things is districts have to demonstrate that they have a partnership with their local businesses, and in Beloit we have a wonderful connection with our advisory committees. Also, in the technology and engineering area, we've had a variety of facility tours. We had the Sheboygan technology education teachers. They actually came and toured our facility, and they were interested in our advisory committee involvement. And one reason was that they have some manufacturers within their area interested in being able to help them purchase equipment and being able to get a program running to, again, get students in that manufacturing pipeline. Jim Ekman and Zach Ford from Scott Forge also toured our new welding and CNC facility. And myself and instructor Chris Clapp, we were able to tour both their Clinton as well as their Spring Grove facility. And we're planning on taking prospective students for youth apprenticeship to allow them tour their facility as well so they can actually see what they have to offer. And this Friday, Kelly Crosby from Scott Forge will be actually interviewing some of our students for the youth apprenticeship program at their facility. Precision Plus was just here. Michael Reeder, William Wells, Director of Operations, Charles Langford, he's a production manager, and Barry Butters, who is the Director of Education. Those were the gentlemen that just were so generous to give us $500 for our Project Lead the Way program and an engineering program. We also had Universal AET tour the welding area as well as the CNC area, and they discussed different opportunities with students within their organization. And a gentleman by the name of Ryan Montgomery, who is also interested in getting students in Monroe to be summer interns for his facility. The Manufacturing Today publication, I was contacted by Brent Kindred, who is the career and technical education individual for DPI, and he asked if I would be interested in writing an article related to the development of our area. And this actually came out today, and it was published in Manufacturing Today, the Wisconsin version. You should also have on your tables that article. We are looking into more of the engineering areas or the courses that will count as a science or a math credit. Again, with Act 63, we need to determine those courses. We know computer science will apply. We really need to look into some of those Project Lead the Way and engineering courses that would also apply or count as a math or science credit. And with that, Project Lead the Way in the robotics, our instructor, Tammy Sparek, is here to talk a little bit about some of the things that she's been working on with the students.
I'm Tammy Spork. That's P-O-E-R-K. Everybody pronounces it differently. What I'm handing out here quickly is just for somebody to review, pass it along. These are called portfolios. And inside here will be all kinds of letters from the one semester that I've taught from students stating how they appreciate the engineering notebooks and the portfolios. And there's your two sets right here, and how I'd like to go from manual to electronic e-portfolios. And I started emailing Beth Clark, is her name, I believe. And she said that's what the school district is looking to move forward into, so perfect timing. Okay, so I started here late in September. I have a variety of different skills. I come from manufacturing of 16 years, started teaching in '05. So I have a little bit of a different background. The first thing I like to work on once I come into a school district is to see the math skills in the students and how I can bring that up right away. Not only that, but organizing and learning how to document notes. This is so important once they come into the industry. That's what we're looking for. Can they follow directions? Can they actually listen, think, and solve? That's a Rockwell quote, so I'm going to give them that credit. Let's see here. What were we doing? We were meeting with the math department. I had met with Dawn as well and mentioned to her as far as conversions and things like that, if we could start making a little bit more progress for all of our manufacturing tech ed department students. If we can have the math department working with math skills for the technology department, that would really help. And I believe she's working with Ryan on that as we speak. Another tool that I've brought in, we've purchased the school district IXL Math. So this allows students to go back to second, third, or fourth grade level if they need to bring their skills up. And it actually gives them the tests, it corrects them for them automatically and explains to them what the problem was, and they can continue going through. It helps the students actually gain confidence that nobody is really correcting their papers other than themselves. And it allows the teacher to actually follow track to see where they've gone and what they excelled at. So IXL Math was very helpful. I've had 2 career speakers come in. One of them, of course, was Barry Butters from Precision Plus. He presented the entire day for all the classes. The students learned quite a bit about manufacturing and engineering. And then we had Amber Culver come through from the Department of Workforce and Development. She gave them a lot of resources. Not only that, but she connected the career cruising that we now have at the school district. All of my students have registered. They have taken the assessment skills, and they were directed by me to find 3 careers where their natural talents and abilities and their interests were going to. And then we focused on that to find out how we can help them. And they entered it into their portfolios to refer back to. In Project Lead the Way, there is a unit that we focus on just careers in themselves. There's one more thing that I'd like to touch note on, and that's a test that the kids will take, and that's called VARC, Visual Oral Reading and Kinesthetic Learners. I feel it's important that each and every one of our learners understand how they learn. Do you learn visually? Are you kinesthetic? Are you an orally, or are you a reader? I like to separate these students so they can collaborate with one another. It really excels their learning curve when they find out that, oh, you're more of a visual. hey, how can you do this with sketching? It's called VARC, and the students appreciated it. It was new to them, I found out, and they really liked that. Career cruising as well was very good for them. Digital engineering portfolios. I put a hyperlink out there for you. I was a state presenter for Project Lead the Way in '05 and '06 as well. And it's amazing at how far it has changed just within the years that I've been teaching Project Lead the Way. What I really like about it is that the industry and the communities, we collaborate to keep our students up. Our nation really needs our students that are coming out of, let's start down at the middle school, if not grade school. I finished a 2-year research project 2 years ago. Students between the ages of 11 and 14 are the first multitasking generation, which, ladies and gentlemen, today are our freshmen. So if I would like to actually go around and talk to every freshman teacher to see how the students have changed within the last year or two due to technology. So with technology, if we go ahead and just click on that hyperlink, I just want to show you, this is what the electronic portfolios are. Project Lead the Way students are communicating with the industry and all the universities and technical colleges. What you see is a manual one there. They are now submitting them electronically. Like I said, I had just started talking via email with Beth Clark. I'd like to sit down face-to-face with her and get our Beloit students creating electronic portfolios. Right now we have, in my classroom, there's probably about 12 that are solid A portfolios that I do know my past students have just taken it in for interviews and they were hired on a spot. They're receiving credits, 3-credit courses, just by bringing in their portfolios and engineering notebooks. So if we can actually accelerate their learning curve by e-portfolio, and your iPads is what I'm trying to integrate here. So it's a learning curve, right? Innovation portal as well. I had forgotten about that. Project Lead the Way is now connected worldwide, globally. It's called Innovation Portal. So when it's our kids start coming up with their design projects, new ideas, we're working globally. We can now start connecting with other communities to come up with new ideas. Innovative, right? National accreditation. I've gone through this twice with 2 other schools, and I would like to bring it into Beloit as well. However, we need one more Project Lead the Way. You have to have 4 Project Lead the Way courses in a district, along with corporate partnership, which we're working on now, in order for the students to take that final exam, which comes out of New York, which is online, and they'll receive 3 college credits for each Project Lead the Way course that they take. So it's one more class. If I was to give any suggestion, it would be the computer integrated manufacturing. I'm already certified for that, so that would actually save the school district $3,000 on that. But it integrates your digital electronics and your CNC machining and your welding department. And it focuses on getting the students to where we want them to. National sponsorship. I don't think I have to talk too much about that. How many of you are aware of Project Lead the Way and how, one person, 2%? Okay. Well, you know how many corporations are actually backing us up. Karen Wilkins is who I've dealt with through the Kern Foundation. A great woman. She's helped a lot of communities as far as working with the foundation in 4 states. That's Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Illinois. Mr. and Mrs. Kern, of course, I've met them several times, and great people. First Robotics is where I'm going to next. That $500 check. Coming into your school district here, sometimes I feel like I'm intimidating some people. So I'm taking a step back. Instead of coming right out and developing an FRC team, which I've been involved in developing 2 of these, one in Milwaukee, and then now I mentor a team that's in Waukesha. And I think we're going to take our high school students, and I'm going to be training them to actually work with the FLL. That's the lower level of the First Robotics teams. This will develop their confidence, the students' confidence, to help them work within the community. $500 is enough to purchase 1 Mindstorm. My goal here is to get 4 middle schools so we can sustain a high school team. There's no sense in starting, I've seen that, I've been there. We've started a team, and you start out very slow because kids don't have enough confidence. Can we get the sponsorships? I think we will. We will have our students go and present to the corporations rather than the adults present. They sell more than any one of us, or myself for that matter. I've seen it, and it's just amazing. I think that's the only reason why I'm still in here, is to watch those kids go in there, just see them grow and develop into confident leaders. So I'm very happy that Barry and Mike came in tonight and donated that. I also submitted a grant to the MEMIC Foundation, which I should find out February 15th for $500. And today there was an email that just went out with 3 or 4 other grants that I possibly will be writing. Or if other corporations that are out there want to come on board and help us out, that would be nice. 1 team per middle school. Before you know it, you're going to end up with 3 and 4 teams per middle school. It runs like wildfire. Your high school students will feel very good about themselves, and that's what we want. Confident leaders. But we'll take it slow. So my plan is to put up 2 fields in the lab that's right next door to my lab right now, and then after school. We have about 10 students that would like to come on board already. They've just been waiting. Hananiga Robotics Collaboration, I believe they came to the school board 2 years ago, and there was a 2-year contract. I did go down there and meet with them, and this will be their 2nd year. We would like to keep NASA on board if we do go as far as developing an FRC team here in the city of Beloit. And the reason why I would only like 4 of our students from the high school to go down there is so that when we do develop our team here, we can be considered a rookie team at that point, and NASA will give us the $4,000 as being a rookie team. I would hate to lose out of that cash because of our students were working with them as well. So that's another reason why we're taking this slow. And then Team 2062 robotic build. During your cold ice days, that's where I've been. And I just took some photos last night. I told the kids I was a little perturbed because our CAD department, you know, we separate all the students into little. You can't get on there. Come on. Really?
No, you can't. Bryce is logged in.
All righty. Well, they're operating CNC machines. We're in the middle of building our chassis right now, and we're working on our 2-gear drive system instead of a mecanum wheel. And I have students actually taking the CAD files, using the blueprints and manufacturing and developing the code on there, the G code. And wanted to show you how we could integrate our first robotics right into our project Lead the Way. And it has kids developing their own little community. There were some pretty nice shots in there. Corporate membership, of course. The hardest thing with any kind of a program like this is mentors. Is there a stipend? That's what you hear from a lot of people. And as soon as you say, no, there is no stipend, they don't stick around for too long. I can't tell you how many teams I have seen that started after school programs. 2-3 years down the road, they disintegrate because we've lost our adult coach. So with the Lego robotics, what you'll have is the high school students becoming a mentor. We will have 1 adult coach, hoping for it to at least be around 2, 3, 4 years would be nice. By the time these students get into the high school, you'll see. At the present team that I'm in right now, we have 14 adults that show up during the build season. Right now, we're going 7 days a week. Due to the cold weather, where a lot of our parts have been backlogged, so we're machining a lot of our parts, trying to get that 6-week build done. So this is where we're looking for the corporations too, is to get those engineers to come on board with us and help the students learn the manufacturing and engineering right from professionals. Engineering challenges also help with that. I don't think we have enough time. I think I'm talking too much, so I'll let Ryan go on. Thank you.
Also, a big challenge is also managing and trying to think of different ways that we can begin incorporating these experiences within the middle school curriculum as well. So I wanted to be able to have students be introduced to some of the course offerings that we have. For instance, we have our construction courses that had not really been touched on at the middle school level. So I thought, well, in the 6th grade, we can at least introduce the vocabulary. They'd be able to draw a wall, and they'd actually be able to create or make the wall in a small scale version. So that was one of the different things that I've asked the middle school teachers to do. We also did a mass production project, and that kind of allows students to use the different equipment, learn about jigs and fixtures, different radiuses, finding centers, and I actually have an example of what they did for their mass production project, and that was done with Mr. Light at Aldrich Middle School. So it's just something a little bit different than a birdhouse and different than a toolbox. So I want to make sure that we're not continuing with some of those things that don't necessarily have provide a challenge for students. Now, what we did is for the mass production project, the students had 2 separate shifts. So there were 2 class periods. They had a first shift and a second shift. And the students would produce the parts within the first hour, and they'd document it, and then the next hour would take up where they left off. And we did that same thing throughout the manufacturing or assembly portion as well. Students are working on for the design and modding class. Again, Barry discussed the Autodesk Inventor, so they are using the 3D solid modeling for their design and modeling class. They're also doing a little bit of the VEX robotics programming in their automation and robotics class. And then they also take a print of a bridge or different types of bridges, and they create those using Connects. So that's what's been going on at Aldrich. Now, the goal is to obviously have both buildings doing similar things. One kind of difficulty is you have different instructors with different certifications, and so that can be a challenge. So my goal as the career and tech director is to make sure that that's happening, especially with the 2 new buildings. I want district-wide to have the same curriculum, the same experiences, and I think that's important. At McNeil, the design and modeling, students are using 3D solid modeling software as well. And actually our instructor, Mr. Chris Lemaster, was able to get a 3D printer. It's called a MakerBot Replica 2. And he was able to get that donated through donorchoose.org. Now what students are able to do is they're actually to take their creations or their designs and print them out. And I actually have a couple here. And I can pass these around, but this is made out of our 3D printer, and they also created a chain. The block, or that's actually an assignment, and the students have to take and they have to draw that assignment, and it's on my next slide actually, so I can show you. They also created mantle clocks, and they designed and assembled them in the traditional tech ed. And as well, just like they are at Aldrich, they're beginning to program their VEX robotic kits in automation and robotics, and they're also doing the different bridge designs using Connects. Oh, can you go back? One more. Actually, it's forward. Sorry. Now, right there. The bigger block portion, you can actually see the print, and the students will take the print, and they'll use Autodesk Inventor, and they will draw it in Inventor, and then they're able to take it and print it. On the bottom picture, they were designing their own keychains, and so they were able to print out their different designs. So. Inspire Rock County, our career cruising initiative. If you're not familiar with that, that is the connection between the business and allows us to connect with the education community. And it's going to be a wonderful tool for students to begin career planning as well as their academic planning. Our counselors have been trained by Steve Yuan from Career Cruising. Our career and technical education teachers have been asked to introduce, and Tammy has been able to do that with her students as well as some other instructors. And also the career teachers in 6th and 8th grade at both of the middle schools have been really using this software with their students. Now there are some assessment pieces in that kind of can pinpoint what a student's interests are, and then they can kind of go from there on. If they decide to go to maybe a technical college route, or maybe what courses they should be or should take the high school level or even at the middle school level. Some of the upcoming events. Tonight was supposed to be our 8th grade expo. That's been rescheduled for February 3rd. And on February 19th, our career and technical education open house will be from 4:30 to 6. Hopefully there's not a cold spell during that time as well. And my goal with that is to really kind of promote career and technical education. February is Career and Tech Month, so we thought it would be a good time to have people from the community come in and really see what our career and technical education program is about, allow them to do different hands-on activities, and we want to make sure that we're kind of promoting our open enrollment at each of those events. And we'll also have career cruising demonstrations for parents. We have some people that will have a booth set up for career cruising. And this last clip it's a video of some interesting facts and how career and technical education is kind of running with that and trying to make a difference in education.
Todd, you want to?
Yeah, I'll take it. Do you have 2 hours?
No.
Push the rewind up on top. Sometimes you can.
If you have an opportunity to look at that, it's actually a very interesting, provides some interesting facts about kind of the shortages that we're going to have in the skilled trades and the need for career and technical education and how we can make a difference. So, are there any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members? Mr. Akam?
I just wanted to ask about that contractor stop table saw purchased through the Alliant Energy Grant. Is that the saw that actually won't cut off your thumb?
Yes, it is.
It-
We actually purchased some the larger version with our Carl Perkins funding a few years ago, actually last year. And this is one that is a smaller version that can actually be taken to a job site. So our students would still have that safety feature
You know, it's incredible that we're now getting technology that knows the difference between a thumb and a piece of wood. I think
Yes.
that's incredible. You guys have also done a great job of the Alliant Energy Grant being one example of the many that we just heard about tonight and are aware of getting money through grants, through cooperation with industry, and so on and so forth. And that's fantastic. That really is, because I mean, not only is it entrepreneurial, not only is it tie-in with what you do anyway, but it also it tightens those partnerships, and the partnerships have been just fantastic. So I just wanted to say it's great. We're just absolutely delighted with the whole thing, and we continue to be.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eka. Mr. Winkleman, please.
Yep, sure, yeah. So, just a couple quick questions. I will note, John, that we have not yet found a hammer that can distinguish between my thumb and something else. That would be awesome, right? $1 million deal right there. But I'm thinking about art, excuse me, I'm thinking about art and graphics and all of those pieces, and wondering, have we kind of started to reach out to develop those business partners in that area yet? Because I haven't.
To be honest, not as much at this point. We've spent a lot of time creating that connection with manufacturing
Right.
and kind of the construction area, as well as the automotive. So that's one thing that I will be working on,
Okay.
kind of moving forward.
And then for the other second question I have is kind of for the novice who, I see the acronyms flying, so I'm kind of like, okay, I think I know what those are. Tell me, how often do our kids have an opportunity to be in a business, seeing the, where they might be, right?
Sure.
To kind of see that.
Actually, in October, we took some students to Forest City Gear, Regal Cutting Tools, and Roscoe Works. And these were manufacturing facilities. And it's really kind of to break that idea of what manufacturing used to be. They're clean environments. They're highly skilled environments. It's not the manufacturing of old. So we were able to take students through those facilities, and we're going to continue to take them.
Cool. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, John. Missy?
I'm kind of like John, if you have this glazed look on my face. This is so new and different, but I'm very impressed. At one point, we see you're getting mentorships or, internships and everything, so the kids are getting out into the companies. Have we thought of bringing the companies in for maybe in the evenings to use our equipment for training?
Actually, just this evening, Mr. Reeder and Mr. Butters discussed bringing some of their employees to our facility to have either summer courses for individuals, and that would be one connection or partnership that would be wonderful to have.
That would be.
Companies come in and train not only their employees, but people that are willing to be trained in CNC manufacturing or welding.
Great. Thank you.
Steve?
Just following up on that also, North American Tool and other companies have talked about using our facilities for instructional purposes with their employees. One of the things that we're encouraging them to do, and Ryan is starting to work on this, is getting their employees, getting their supervisors to our facilities to meet and greet our kids, to see our kids, to get to know our kids, and to maybe start cherry picking, if you would, our kids, to start working with them, bring them over to their facility, and then form a partnership for an apprenticeship type program as the kid gets older. They can articulate and transcript many of those credits while they're in high school, but then a lot of our kids would need to go on and finish that last year in Black Hawk Tech. What our manufacturers are saying is they would even be willing to pay for that year of the students' fees for Black Hawk, but the kid's going to have to make a commitment to them because there's such a shortage of skilled laborers out there.
Thank you, Steve. I have a whole lot to say because I'm so excited about the presentation that we had tonight. I want to start with, one of the areas that you focused on was in our middle school. And I know that we've redesigned what we're doing at our middle school. We've cut some, we've added some. From a board perspective, what do you need to be successful at the middle school level to help feed into the high school level? Is there anything that we're missing right now that you need in place to be successful?
Well, some of our engineering.
Let me rephrase that, intermediate with our new schools, sorry.
Yes, some of the engineering programs. There's a cost to training staff. One course costs $1,500 to send a staff member, as well as they are offered a stipend for their time because it's a 2-week course in the summer. So that would be one resource that we could use as something for that training cost. And also some of that equipment, the VEX robotics kits, for instance, one kit is $1,500. So, there's a need with that as well. We are able to kind of get some of that funding through our Carl Perkins because that's kind of a program in development. But we can't continue just to rely on Carl Perkins funding for those types of things. So, and also with the new buildings, we're going to try to keep that traditional tech ed experience as well. So we want to make sure that,
Glad to hear that.
we're really merging those two together. So that would mean for the new buildings, you would need some things such as a table saw or drill presses, which aren't a high cost, but it's still a cost, and it would make sense to continue to purchase saw-stop table saws that can sense the conductivity within someone's finger. So just as a safety feature, especially in the middle school or intermediate level. So
I'm excited to hear that we're maintaining some of those. I've heard from fellow board members that maybe birdhouses is not where we're at, but simply that folding table was phenomenal in what we can anticipate from our middle schoolers. So I would highly encourage yourself and those that understand what we need to do within our middle schools to bring forth a proposal for the board to consider. The next question I had is in regarding to, I know we have a 3D printer at the high school, and I think that we referenced some of the things that McNeil students were doing. Are they utilizing the 3D printer at the high school, or is there actually another one that's over at McNeil?
actually, right now we're having a software issue with our 3D printer, so we're trying to get that resolved. Also, in this year's Perkins grant, I did a budget modification, and I requested 3 3D printers. Another one for McNeil, another one, or actually one for Aldrich, and also one for the high school. I'm going to look into, first of all, there's a high cost for the current printer that we have at the high school, and I think it was a $4,000 yearly maintenance cost. And I want to look into if we were able to sell that printer and purchase more. So of the smaller, the cost has come down tremendously. So I think they're $3,300 now.
Wow.
And so we'd be able to purchase quite a few by selling the one printer that we have at the high school. It's more of an industrial printer that we have. So it's really, we're trying to get our issue with our software resolved at this point.
Excellent. And I have to say, I think that it's allowing the students to think outside the box. With the cold weather we had, personally, I can say that our garage door opener broke, and it's a plastic piece that runs on the rotors. And so I have a sophomore who said, well, I can go into class and I can program that through CAD, and I can create that piece, and we can get our garage door working again. So,
He's exactly
I mean,
right.
the imagination of the students that you have within your classes to encompass the class offerings that you have and transpose that into the materials that we have is phenomenal. But I also know, and what I cautioned my own son was the cost of materials. So I think that I appreciate what you're saying. It's great to hear that the costs are coming down on the printers, and that outside the box thinking of, can we sell one to get 3 or 4 and make it universal within our district is outstanding, because the opportunities are endless. So thank you for bringing that forward to us. The third question, or more of a statement that I have, is that you mentioned internships, and I just think that we really need to promote and pat ourselves on the back for the fact that we do have these internships. And it's my understanding that not only do we have internships, but specifically on the IT perspective, we now have internships with ABC Supply and Carry Ingredients, which I think are outstanding things that we need to say we are Beloit proud, and we're doing it, and it's being recognized by some of our largest business partners in the area, that our students that we're turning out are phenomenal. So I want to thank you and your staff for making that happen and for showing what Beloit is truly capable of. The next point that I have is in the AP programming. I noticed that we do have AP programming for computer science as an offering for our students next year. My question to you is staffing, because for that level of programming, we need to ensure that a person has has the background and capabilities to truly understand that? And are we actively pursuing and aggressively looking for individuals that may have that background? And are we still going to, irregardless of that, going to be offering that for students next year?
Yes, we actually have a person in the math department that has the certification.
Wonderful.
So that is kind of I'm not saying that individual is going to be the instructor, but
Understood.
we have a retirement with Mr. Michaels, and when we repost his position, we will be looking for someone with the background in computer science, as well as the accounting and different business education areas.
And I think that's so exciting to hear that we're talking about perhaps our computer science as filling in for one of our math credits shows the fact that our computer science and the level of offerings have excelled to the point that we really are setting the standard for the state of Wisconsin, if not the nation. So a huge kudos to your staff and your department for making that happen. And the last thing that I'm going to touch on, and you kind of touched on that as we closed, as what are we doing off hours? And I have to say, in my civilian world or non-school district, non-Army world, Stainless Tank is one of my clients, and they too have said, whatever we can do, because your facility is on the cutting edge. So I think that there are so many, and we could name drop what have you tonight, and that's not what we're all about tonight, but it's saying that Beloit Memorial High School or Beloit School District truly has cutting edge equipment and educators and the entire package to show those individuals that are doing the actual job today in today's job market what we can do. So the more we can do to integrate with that, and I'm certain there's probably policies or procedures or school district policies that we have to follow, whatever we can do to market that, because obviously as a school district we're integrated with the city and with our taxpayers, but what we're doing is phenomenal. And I think that the more we can sing our own praise and be proud of what we're doing in Beloit, will amplify that. So I want to say thank you to you, your staff, and what we're doing, and we're certainly going in the right direction.
Thank you.
Nora.
A few things that I heard tonight too were I appreciate the amounts of money that you've gone out to seek and being frugal with what you have. But as this program grows, you alluded to needing more equipment for the intermediate schools and that sort of thing. And I'm just wondering, could this be like a snowball effect once other manufacturers and other businesses see how our tech ed program is growing, that more partnerships would grow and perhaps more of those donations? I mean, what are we doing to
Yes, I believe that it will. If we begin to get those partnerships, for instance, North American Tool, if we can get them into a facility to train, I would believe that some of that will help offset some of those costs. It's just one of those things where it's almost a wait and see type of thing. But
it's so exciting, but it seems like you don't want to have finances really limit where we can go, being
Right.
that we're on the cutting edge.
Right.
And if we had a little more buy-in from more of our business community to make that happen, I mean, it just the end result is
Right.
just phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Steve?
You know, I think it's really important to remember that we got here without ever going out to anybody with our hands out and saying, please donate to this cause. What we really needed to do first was build it so they would come. And what we had to do is prove to industry that we were very serious, and you're serious by putting your money where your mouth is. And we did that with all of our career tech ed areas. And so now we're starting to reap the benefits of that, and that's what's going to happen. We have a very methodical approach to what we've been doing so far, and Todd Kabelka and I laughed when we first put together Ryan's job description, and I sat down with Ryan because it was pretty monumental. I mean, to think about taking all those things on. He's been outstanding. He's done a great job with it, and it's kind of actually crazy that we've accomplished as much as we have, but we need to continue to go at the pace that is acceptable and workable and it's amazing how far we're getting, how quick we're getting, but we still got to manage it. And so, I think we're going to see more and more, just like the folks that came in tonight. By the way, I was telling John Winkleman that our machines, our Haas machines, are $100,000 each. the machines that they use in his tooling are $1 million a piece. Okay, and a phenomenal shop, and we're developing that partnership, and that's, again, one at a time, and industry's really excited about what we're doing. This will come along for us.
Thank you, Steve. Michael?
Just wanted to extend my thanks and appreciation to you and the department. You know, it's great to have a nice facility with cool equipment, and great to have you know, people interested in that, but you don't get the business partnerships if you don't have students in the program. And you don't have students in the program unless there's people over that program that they can connect to, that help it make sense, that make it exciting. So, you know, just big appreciation to you and others working in the department for getting the interest with kids in there and keeping them in. I mean, it's just amazing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Others? At this point, thank you so much for coming and allowing us to understand exactly what's going on behind the scenes. It's phenomenal, and I can't wait to see where we go from here.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Next thing we have, Bryce Gustafson is going to get up. Bryce is principal at our Beloit Learning Academy, and Bryce is going to give you a little presentation on what he's doing over there.
Mr. G.
Hey, how are you guys? One of the exciting things we did at the start of the school year at the Beloit Learning Academy was to participate in homecoming. And so for the first time ever, we had a mascot, and this is Fernando Buendia, in an outfit that Liz Watson, who works in our school, created. So that was really cool. We're located at a Wright School. We have about 232 students, 9 teachers, 1 counselor, and a half-time reading specialist. Our students are not all located within our building, and at times we get a lot of credit for the hard work of other programs, like Beloit Memorial, for example, or Fresh Start, Challenge Academy. Some of the programs I'll list over my shoulder in a minute. It's our first graduate of the year, and that's really exciting when we do that. We'll announce that over the PA in our school. It happens quite frequently, and again, that's credit to often to Beloit Memorial, because students will just fall short in June. They'll be short 1 credit or 2 credits, and so we'll finish the job with the students that they had started at Beloit Memorial. So kudos to both schools. I had known Kevin back when I was an assistant principal at Beloit Memorial. And I'm not going to get into his personal story, but this is quite a feat for Kevin, and I care very deeply for him and our other students. Now, the names behind me are very important. I just wanted to show you that last year we graduated about 82 students, and this year so far we're at 22, but again, this is a cooperative effort with all these other programs that you'll see shortly. But that's a big success for our students and our community. I look at it as, you know, the Beloit Learning Academy is, as far as the taxpayers are concerned, there's a lot of bang for the buck. You may not see it, our attendance rate isn't perfect, but the hard work that we do and the nurturing and teaching of behaviors that we're looking for is our goal in our building. These are the programs I had alluded to earlier that we do get a little bit of credit for. Challenge Academy is located in Toma, and I'm actually at the Toma facility last year with some graduates from just this past June. The facility was very impressive. I ate lunch with the cadets, and I saw the structure that they were in, and I know one of the students, I'm not saying he's up here, but one of the students had coded 3 times for bringing knives to school, and I know now that he's a graduate and working for going to school to work on Caterpillar equipment, and he has a bright future ahead of him. So, man, it was great to see him grow, and most of them, when I was there, said, I'm going to join the military. It's not a military program. It's kind of a quasi-military program where students in the morning will get in shape, and the instructor told me they'll lose 20, 30 pounds during their time period, and then in the afternoon they'll work on their GED. So Fresh Start is also at Eclipse, the Eclipse program at the mall, and on A days they'll be in the field, and on B days they'll be working towards their credits on Odyssey. In our building, we have a middle school, general ed middle school, and also a general ed high school. The virtual school is actually, the programming is taken care of by Jesse Garza in our building, so in a sense, it's ours as well. The Teen Parent Program, which is located at Head Start, cooperative effort, which was started just this last year with Steve and Barb and Lene's help, and I also helped to organize this program. We have 8 students that go through this program, and on one half of the classroom, their sons and daughters are being taken care of by licensed care providers, and on the other side, they're doing classwork that's getting them ready to graduate. So it's really a cool program. We've had some success there. We're really looking at how we can create even a better program. We're working with together with Barb, and so I'm sure she'll share that down the line. We have the homebound program in our building. It's not just at Beloit Learning Academy. It's located throughout the district, but we have one room that is really focused for homebound programming. So we have several students throughout the day that come and go for an hour or two to get their education. We have the after-school program. So the students that you may review for expulsion are in this program for 2 hours in the evening with Sue Bailey as the leader, a great leader. That program's 3:45 to 5:45. I don't know if you had a chance to check this out on the board packet, but it's a really cool letter. When I read this, it just makes you feel really good, and it's hard not to get emotional when you read something like this. But this person has a parent in Superior and also a parent here in Beloit, and was in that power struggle between her parents, and was just trying to figure out life itself. So a very successful student at Beloit Memorial, but just for a short time, it wasn't working there and needed a place to be. And Steve says our students, they just need a home, and it might be temporary, it might be more a long term, but they need a home nonetheless. And that's what we do. We're a family-oriented business with such a small staff and such a small building. We're very appreciative of that you allow us to work with our program of a smaller amount of kids. I wanted to show you the demographics just so you knew who we're working with. It looks like 44%. I just ran this off Skyward just recently, so we did have some change with the end of the term and some shifting between Beloit Memorial and our school, but here, I'll just let you read the percentages behind me. This is an important slide, probably the most important one that I want you to reflect on today. I blocked out the kids that were in this picture, and I did not take this picture with a purpose. In fact, it was another staff member's idea, but after looking at it, I know that 2 students in this picture attempted suicide in the recent months, within the last 2 months. One is a homeless student. One is holding a baby, and another student had perpetrated in his past. So those are all the kids in the picture. So we have a great deal of trauma in our building, and we have a great deal of teaching to do because of that. Students didn't learn the things that maybe my daughter, Allie, who isn't in the same circumstances, and God forbid that ever happen, but our students definitely have their challenges in life, and we want to be there for them. So what can we do? We have a PBIS, Steve calls our PBS program PBIS on steroids. I like that. That's a compliment. Miss Watson is the person who oversees our PBIS program, although I did a lot of the programming this summer when we organized some of these fundraisers, which I've been hassling the district about coming to and spending their money. You can see Dan Stoffaker even made a photo here behind me, so that's really cool. But we've raised this year nearly $1,000, and last year we did about the same. You can head on to the next slide. And what we do in our school is we reward behavior with Phoenix Feathers and just public rewards, just saying, hey, you did a great job on that. But we then post the the phoenix feathers into these masonry jars and put it in the front when you enter so that the students can see all the success that they're having and that we're spending so much time. So our goal is to be the land of 10,000 phoenix feathers, and so far at the semester we're at 4,500, and we're proud of that. The 4,500 is actually posted on a bulletin board in the north hallway. So yeah, our attendance isn't very good at times. There are days where our students have trouble getting to school. We have a few programs in place. Number one, my job is to get on the phone as soon as possible and to drive to homes. And I've been on Facebook harassing students to come to school. We have a program that Friends Don't Let Friends Skip School program, which we do allow texting if it's about to get a student into school. And you get phoenix feathers if you do that. So that's really cool. All right, next we're going to hop to referrals. That's the perfect, that's right where we need to be. All right, we have 63 referrals. I just want you to know this. Referrals, in your mind, you're thinking, ooh, that's bad. In my mind, I'm thinking, these are teachable moments. These are interventions that we're dealing with kids that have suffered a lot of trauma. And these are opportunities for us to talk to them and meet with them. And so when a staff member submits a referral, it's really about saying, hey, I met with this student, I talked to them, and I want to make sure it's documented. Why? Because every Tuesday we meet and we look at our referrals, and then we decide what can we do for our students, what program would be right for them if they're not in the right program. And an example is, if you look at the data, I think there's an outlier in one of the categories, and one student came from a neighboring district just a half a mile away or whatever. And he acquired 16 referrals in 23 days, so that's going to skew your data. But we look at those as opportunities as what's the right program for him. We gave him a great opportunity in our general ed programming, and now we need to fine-tune his plan. And that's the key. What is the plan? The plan is to involve the students in the plan and to talk to them about it and what can they do to improve their academic standing and progress at school. And we also would involve their parents, of course. So not too long ago, Mr. Garza and I came to present to you. Really, Mr. Garza did most of the presenting that night. But the volunteer work study program that you've allowed us to participate in so far, Mr. Garza has given me a report that 15 students have earned about 1 to 2 credits so far in that range. We do have from 3 to 320 opportunities for our students to participate in career cruising. And so we're doing that. Are you familiar with career cruising? I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding, okay. And then I put down some of the regimen that the students, it's not handing out credits, and that was a message that we received from you, and we needed more structure with that, and so Jesse had made that spreadsheet, and I identified some of those things that they have to do aside from just going to work. Completing an interest survey or researching the career clusters, obtaining a work permit, creating a resume, things like that. So thank you for that leadership. All right, I did mention that we do have, the Beloit Learning Academy has a sit schedule that every Tuesday we meet. We assign perhaps somebody to mentor the student or check in, check out before and after school with these students to create a plan, and I underlined it in my notes with the students. And then we document it in Google Docs. And in a second, I'm going to ask Ryan to go back. Why don't we just show the last 2 slides because they're really fun to see. This is prepping for homecoming, and then we did have homecoming representatives at our little school, and that's Courtney Pisani and Nichelle Williams. Ryan, would you mind going to that, the summary of the data? Now, the first bit of this is just the times that our behaviors are happening at our school. I just want you to know that I'm not looking for you to analyze our behavior, but just realize that it's a scientific process that we go through, and we sit down family style with the dozen or so of us that are there, and we talk about what we can do and find solutions. You can kind of see that I'm the head honcho as far as some of the things that I'm teaching in my office, an extension of the classroom. And then also this doesn't show you any data because we don't want to put the students' names up there, but it would show, you'd start to see outliers. So when you saw somebody at 10 or 12% of all our referrals for the month, it's time to really manufacture a better plan for that student, realizing then that you have a problem. So you can scroll down a little bit. And these are the reasons that we're having, mostly work avoidance from what I've gathered over time, and finding a way to motivate the students, and finding ways for them. They're sometimes, at times, very fragile, and it just takes a very creative hand to work with our students. I think the biggest thing out of all this information is the amount of interventions that the teachers do provide. And yeah, once in a while we do have an unsafe act and it warrants an out-of-school suspension. But I think one of the things that we've improved on in the last year, if you could scroll down to some of the consequences, you can see that the interventions far outweigh out-of-school suspension or any other kind of punishments that really, over time, have proven to not be helpful, especially for our students. And you can see in these categories the area of black male students, that's the particular area where we had a student come in from a neighboring district. So it's much less if you take that outlier out of there, and we did find a program for that gentleman. And that's it. That's the presentation. Did you have any questions about the academy?
Nora?
I have a couple, but for now, I see you turn that up. I wanted to know if we could go up one slide. I didn't quite get up one more slide. I wanted to look at the infractions and how they've, yeah. Okay, I have another question later, but I wanted to look at that.
Okay.
I'll have another one a little bit later. I wanted to look at this.
Ryan, can you bring that up for us? Nora had asked that you bring up the slide. Which one, Nora? Oh, this one. Okay. And your next question, Nora, is?
I wanted to look at this for a minute.
Oh, I'm
Just
sorry.
analyze it. The link is in there for you to review, and I gave directions in how to get to it. And if you have problems, I can definitely help you with that. Or you can come over to school. I'll walk through it with you.
Keep going, Nora.
Okay. I really appreciate what you've done. I've been over to the school with Mr. McNeil, and it's just amazing to see some of these students who it ends up being their home, and they interact and get along well from what I saw. And I'm happy that the volunteer work in the community is going well too. I sit on the RCAA governing board, and I'm just wondering, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. If you don't know, that's fine. But has there been any comments by any of the students about RCAA students maybe mingling on another floor? Or how do you see that working?
Yeah, I know that there is a transition coming, but our students are not aware of that yet. And since we don't know all of the challenges or potential issues that we may face, our students don't need another disruption at this time. But I think it's something that we're working closely. I met with Tina Gex today just to see, how do you envision, what would the program look like for all students? How could they all benefit? So we're definitely putting our heads together already. And Steve had said, hey, look, can you get started on this? Mm-hmm.
Other board members?
Thank you, it was great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say, Mr. G, because I can never say your last name right. I've had the opportunity to see you at Morgan and then at Aldrich. You've kind of grown up with my kids, and now at BLA. And I want to say, my takeaway as an individual is you have that, what I don't have, and that's touchy-feely with the parents and the students, and it's a phenomenal skill to have. And you integrate so well, and you dissipate any aggressive rise up, and it's a unique skill, and I want to say that we need to celebrate that unique skill because it's far and few between, and you emulate it extremely well. And I appreciate you and everything you do, and it's really showing in the successes that we've had over at the BLA. So thank you to you and your staff and everything that you do, because it truly shows. And it shows really when we looked at the disrespect to staff and the reference to consequences, you dissipate that so quickly, or you help and interject in that. So thank you to you and that skill set, because we are a much better district for having that. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. And Lynette, I believe you have a presentation for us as well this evening.
We just wanted to share with the board as we continue with the technology, and we want to show you a really fun thing real quick that one of our second grade teachers did with her class. Have you seen it? It's worth showing. I just wanted to share that with the board for those of you who hadn't seen it. It's really an example of what's going on across our district. We had an opportunity, I'm going to actually say a privilege, of interviewing a number of our own staff for the Apple coach position that we now have on board with us. And all of a sudden we are watching a bunch of our staff already doing these kind of things across our district. This was Val Johnson from Converse. Amazing teacher, doing great things. So just wanted to share it. Thanks.
John and Nora, please.
Just one quick note on that. Those kids, that was a second grade class, and I thought that was very, very, very well done by a second grade class.
Thank you, John. Nora?
I was impressed when I saw it the first time, and I wanted to see it a second and third time. But I'm curious, how long did it take for those students to memorize and get all the... Did they work a long time on that, or...
I don't know the answers to that.
It just looks so smooth and well choreographed that it's just amazing. They're second graders.
I think Nora has, Nora, I would say that second graders sometimes have better skills than we do.
I know
And
they do.
they're so there that we're definitely behind.
They, you know, and they're doing the videotaping and stuff too. But I don't know the answer to how long it took them. But I just want to brag just a little bit because we also have in that same class they're doing some Skyping overseas and doing some geography type things. We have another class that's doing storyboards for their science, and they're reading into their iPad and listening back for fluency to their own reading, and doing some self-correction that way. So, I mean, that's just a couple tiny little examples of things that are going on, but it's really making a big difference. So, it's exciting.
Amazing.
Yep.
Wow.
You through, Nora?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. I just want to say thank you, and that really concludes our superintendent's reports to the board, which have been some outstanding reports this evening. Next, we'll move to reports to the board. First up, we have student board member report, and unfortunately, I have to report that we don't have any students here this evening. And as much as I would like to embellish and give you my student board, we have Michael who wants to interject. And having 2 students at the high school, I certainly could. I'm going to refrain from that because
Thank you. They would be embarrassed.
because I would be embarrassed to do so,
Or
and they'd be
they
even
would be
more so. I'm going to move forward to committee reports. First up, we have Finance, Transportation, and Property Report. And with that, John Winkleman, please.
Thanks, Shannon. We met on the 14th, had just a simple agenda. So we talked about annual audit presentation, and that's going to come forward as we approve it. It's a great response from our auditors, and our team did a great job in helping put it together. So first of all, kudos to the whole team. Thank you to Janelle and everybody that went into that question. Really awesome job. And that'll come in a minute as we get to action item. We have, Janelle has moved us into a process where we're going to kind of update the budget documents on a more regular basis. So we did a little bit of that, basically adding some grant monies that have come in and being able to make adjustments where things that we assumed were not happening or were happening. So budget adjustments were there. And then we had a couple of waivers of rental fees, one for the Petunia City Squares and one for the Phantom Regiment. And we hope, this is my pet peeve, right? You know that. So we hope that Phantom Regiment will be able to do a open show for people sometime in the summer, right? Is what I heard. So we've been pushing for that for a while. It's like come and hang out here and then share with the community a little bit. So that's the first time we've seen it kind of in writing. So don't hold your breath, but we're gonna keep watching for that. And that was our meeting. So
Thank you. Are there any questions for John Winkleman? Seeing none, let's move forward then with curriculum and instruction with John Aiken, please.
The Curriculum and Instruction Committee met on January the 14th. We got several reports on grants in process. We had no new submissions over the Christmas holidays, but we were presented with information showing a grand total. In 2013, our school district was awarded $3,328,580 in hard-earned, well-deserved grants. I think that's pretty phenomenal. We also had an excellent presentation on the dual language immersion classes that are now going on in several of our elementary schools. And we liked it so much that we asked that it be brought before the entire board at a televised meeting. Because of the cold weather, didn't happen tonight, but I'm sure it will happen a month from now. And it's been successful. It's been a magnet that is drawing people to our district. It's been well received by parents, and it's been a successful way to learn. Essentially what it is that the kids are taught half the day in English, half the day in Spanish. The classes are divided roughly 50-50 between native English speakers and native Spanish speakers. These are elementary school programs beginning in kindergarten and coming on up through. They aren't being taught language, they're being taught the subjects that they get taught in a regular classroom in whichever language they're speaking at the moment, morning or afternoon, depending. And so it's kids are learning language in part through context, and they pick it up fast, and it's working, and it's an exciting program, and you'll learn a lot more about it a month from now. So please, those to our television audience, please tune in next month. Also, we were updated on the Skyward RTI system. RTI stands for Response to Intervention. And for those of you who don't know, intervention is education jargon for basically stepping in with kids who are falling behind and bringing them back up to where they're supposed to be. That's an intervention. And often they're done one-on-one or they're done in small groups. And that's part of what RTI is. So we learned about that. We learned about what's working, what isn't working. The tracking system tells us that it guides us to make special efforts for kids that need the special efforts. It shows us what's working. It shows us which kids are progressing, which kids aren't progressing, and basically guides us in this process. It's a record that stays with the kid as the kid goes through the school system, 4K all the way through 12. So that people don't have to reinvent the wheel with a struggling kid when the kid moves on to another school. Within our school district. And so that's very good. And that system is now in Skyward. and we understand that it's running reliably. And so that's sort of a quick summary of what we talked about in the curriculum committee meeting. Are there any questions?
Thank you, John. Are there any questions for John? Seeing none, Nora, could you please lead us with policy and personnel?
The Policy and Personnel Committee met on December 17th prior to the business meeting last month. In that meeting, we approved for the second reading the Policy 377, Rule 2, Secondary Schools Athletics and Activities Code. And then we also discussed and approved the technology integrator position for the Apple training representative that moved on. Then on January 14th, we had a full committee meeting where we talked about a number of policies. We have 3 policies, I believe it is, coming forward tonight. One of them has to do, with central storeroom inventory. I want to say where the inventory used to be stored. We're deleting that policy because we no longer use that. We have a policy on vandalism coming forward for first reading and accident reporting coming forward for first reading. In addition to those 3 policies, we also had a labor liaison update from Mr. Kabelka, and he indicated that the Employment Rights Commission informed the district that the Administrative Support Union will be voting for recertification via mail, and the BEA and Secretary unions have recertified. That was under our labor liaison update. I also passed out a number of policies that need to be updated or reviewed that will come forward in our first committee meeting of next month. And that just about covers it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Are there any questions for Nora? Seeing none, that moves forward then with the WASB, WASDA, and WASBO Joint Education Convention Report. Who would like to go first? John.
The WASB convention, and I'll leave the other acronyms to Shannon. The WASB convention is absolutely rich in opportunities to learn more about education, what's happening today, and what other school districts are doing that's working, and much more. I'll talk about a couple things that I was involved in. One, appearing at the convention was Governor Scott Walker. And the bulk of his conversation was about strengthening vocational and technical education and putting more emphasis on in partnership with 2-year colleges, and which we're already doing. And most importantly, from my perspective, Governor Walker, in the course of his speech, speaking to school districts from the entire state, had a very nice comment about the fine technical education program that we are putting together right here at Beloit Memorial High School. And I think that was great, and we appreciated that. The media unhappily jumped on one part of what the governor said, which was a relatively small part of what he said, which is that he's going to convene a committee, which he and Tony Evers are going to lead, to look at the possibility of tweaking the Common Core standards and strengthening them if that's appropriate. Governor Walker at no time suggested that we were going to leave Common Core. We're not going to leave Common Core. That's been made abundantly clear by the governor and by Tony Evers both. Common Core is something that's here, and it's Common Core standards, and they are a floor, not a ceiling. So actually, if this school district at some point feels that some aspect of Common Core needs to be strengthened within our curriculum, that's fine, because Common Core is standards, it's a floor. We do the curriculum, and we can do that, and we have the authority to do that right here in Beloit anytime we want. So again, I think it's important to keep that in mind. in the delegate assembly, and I was the delegate representing this district, the subject of Common Core, not surprisingly, came up. It's been in the news. It's been in discussions. And so I had an opportunity to address the delegates. I was given the opportunity to address the delegates on the subject of Common Core. And I cited the fact that, unlike perhaps many of the delegates, I can remember back when the nation created standards for education based upon a program called Why Johnny Can't Read. And that goes back, actually, I believe, to the Eisenhower administration. Came all the way up through No Child Left Behind. Again, always standards. So the idea of the government coming up with standards isn't new at all. And Common Core is just the most thoughtful effort that I remember of all the different efforts that have occurred over many, many years. And so the other point that I wanted to make to the delegates there was the fact that college admissions are based upon students' proficiency with Common Core. So also the delegate, in the delegate assembly, there one of the 15 resolutions adopted was submitted by this school district. And our resolution simply asks that private and parochial schools that accept state funding through taxpayer finance vouchers must be held to the state's same state statutory requirements, testing requirements, and accountability standards as public schools without exception. And I'm pleased to report to the board that our resolution passed by the largest margin of any of the 15 resolutions. So we rock. Also, had an opportunity to visit at some length with former Beloit Superintendent Milt Thompson. And it was a great visit. Milt is now superintendent up in Pulaski, Wisconsin, in the Pulaski School District. And I think what I want to bring back from that to you is how extremely complimentary Milt was about what we're doing here now in Beloit. And the progress that we're making, the initiatives that we're taking, he is impressed, he is complimentary, and he wanted me to pass that along to you, which I'm delighted to do. So that's my part of the convention, and it's sort of like the idea of a blind man looking at an elephant. Each of us will see a different part of it, and so those were a couple parts that were more unique to me. So that's my report.
Thank you, John. Let's move on then to Nora.
The workshops that I attended had to do with finance and Common Core mainly. And part of the reason why I chose, I also went to one on curriculum because I'm on the curriculum committee. But part of the reason why I chose the workshops on finance is because figuring out school budgets and how we get our state aid is very complicated, and the more information that can come my way, the better it is for my brain to process it all. So I enjoyed being in one of the finance workshops. It was entitled State Equalization, and I would say there were probably about maybe 50 other school districts represented in that particular workshop, and we were able to call out the name of our district, and they went through the state equalization process and what our district had. So I found that to be very interesting. One of the other workshops that I attended was what are the Common Core state standards, and what does the adoption mean for Wisconsin and the impact that it has in our schools. And what I found interesting about that is there was, I don't know, I think Steve and Missy went to that. I wouldn't doubt if there were maybe a couple hundred people there. There was just standing room only because this is such a hot topic that many of us want to understand a little bit more. And they didn't pass out, or they ran out of literature to pass out. So I just took a few notes, and I haven't had a chance to go online to look at it. But I found it to be very informative, and they took questions that were common questions that board members are presenting to DPI, and went through those questions and explaining where where Wisconsin is and what we're doing. And basically, John did a wonderful job in explaining a little bit about Common Core, but basically we're making those standards a little more stringent too. Along that line, I went to another workshop called Curriculum Alignment Process and Procedures, and I think maybe Lene and her department does a little bit of this, where this smaller district, what they did is they took representatives from all of their schools so that their curriculum would build upon each grade, so that when those students got to the high school level, it was kind of a continuum of this learning what they needed to know, the basics they needed to know as they move forward. And I know in Ryan Rui's presentation, he mentioned in the tech ed department, that's kind of a missing link right now that he's working on. And as this smaller district explained how it works for them, I thought, well, maybe that's something that we might be able to look at a little bit more, or maybe talk to Lene about, and she could explain a little bit more how it is worked in our district. So I enjoyed it, networking with so many people and hearing what's going on in their district was also very beneficial. And I was able to join Missy and also John with some conversations with Milt. And I didn't have a chance to work with Milt very long, and I really enjoyed all of the information I was able to glean from those conversations. So thank you for allowing me to attend.
Thank you, Nora. Missy, please.
First off, thank you for allowing me to go. I always enjoy this and gain so much from it. One of the sessions that I went to was put on by the School Administrators Alliance, and John Forrester spoke of the legislative update and what was coming. He talked about the 13-14 state budget, and he kind of recapped what it was going to mean for education in the state. He covered also the current legislation, what's going to be presented, and I'll just briefly tell you that Common Core has 3 bills that will have some hearings. School accountability, this what John was saying, the Wisconsin Association of School Boards voted on, and will present their information to the legislature. Also, he mentioned that the voucher advocates are fighting the accountability quite strongly, so that's going to be interesting. Charter school expansion, special needs vouchers will be coming up. Rural Task Force is talking about funding, earning high school credit in middle school, removing the 180-day requirement for schools, grade sharing, and special education subs. All those having to do with education will be talked about in the legislative session. He mentioned the new reality that we're facing, and I'm going to read this. Just it says, so far this session we have faced an extreme ultra-conservative agenda, defunding public education, expansion of vouchers, and independent charters seems to be the focus. He also talked about what his Administrators Alliance does to advocate for certain bills, and how the political system, how they get involved in that. It was very interesting. I also went to a session on responding to public records requests this session covered the basics of the Wisconsin Public Records law, and also talked about what our policy should probably have in it. They covered what constitutes a record, what constitutes public record notice, and the cost of obtaining records, who's the legal custodian, and how a request can be made, and how to respond within the law to these requests. It was quite lengthy, and I think had a lot of information that I'm going to pass on to the policy committee because that's where it belongs. Thank you. I also I also went to a presentation by a school counseling program in River Bluff Middle School, which as a former support staff, I found very interesting. She talked about how there is this, of course, new educator effectiveness reviews and so much, and the teachers have the Danielson method, and they are being looked at for educational practices, how well they do that, and also student outcome. And principals have a model that they use, the STRONG model, which also covers overall system effectiveness and the student outcome of the whole building. But there's nothing for other staff, and so how do we evaluate support staff? How do we evaluate counselors and paras and social workers, psych, and even superintendents? So, yeah, which is, there's no model. But, yeah. So what they had done was they developed a model, and I have a handout on it, and it's very, very thorough, but they look at the climate of the building. They look at the personal safety of the kids. They look at academic achievement because, after all, that's what we're all about. And it's very hard to figure out how paras and all those supports people blend into this and what their contribution is, but they have it pretty well spelled out. And they also talk about the career domain and what they're doing in that. So I thought that was very helpful. And I have a template for accountability report card. I'll just say one thing about the Common Core standards, and as Nora mentioned, it was kind of standing room only because obviously that's the big topic, but they talked about what the impact would be on teaching and the learning and assessment, and they talked about how the Common Core would connect with teacher effectiveness and school report cards and all assessments. But what I found interesting was they were talking about myths and facts versus facts, because the DPI has had this Common Core for several years now, but never has there been such an attack on it until now. And so a lot of things are, going around in public, and they have gone ahead and studied all of them. So I thought that was very interesting. Some of the myths are just kind of crazy, but some of them are valid questions too. One of them was the standards tell teachers what to teach, but of course we know that it's local control for that. So have those all answered, very interesting. And one of the other ones that I went to was put on by the Association for Equity and Funding, and this is Janelle's, she's part of that. It's the business managers for all of the districts, I think. And they had done a longitudinal study examining about 10 years of educational funding, depending on student demographics data. And it was, I had forgotten all my statistics, I have to say, but so it was a little, it was very, very in-depth and very thorough, and it's an ongoing study. They're hoping by next year perhaps to come up to some even more definitive things. But basically, they say the present, system of equalization is benefiting the rich districts, and the gap is getting so much greater in what the rich districts can afford to give their students as compared to the districts that have highly equalized, values. So hopefully next year we'll learn even more, and at that point perhaps they will be talking to the legislature to get what is constitutionally mandated for equity in education. And I went to general sessions, and I just thought the whole thing was just very informative, and I appreciate being able to go.
Thank you, Missy. Steve, please.
I really wouldn't add a lot to what the board members had to say. I did attend a number of sessions, and I think the overwhelming thing that I continue to learn is that we're out in front of the pack, not behind the pack. So I listened to a couple of our board members talk about the wellness presentation they went to, and we actually could be that model for the state and what we do with wellness and all across the board. I agree with what Missy said about the funding part. I think that's very intriguing. When you look at the longitudinal study on it, it's pretty telling, and it's something that needs to be addressed at the state level. So,
Can I just say one more?
Absolutely,
I'm,
Missy.
I'm sorry. Sometimes you get, some really interesting things just by who you sit next to. And I happened to be at one of the luncheons, and I sat down, and I think other people were going to different luncheons, but the superintendent and board members from Janesville sat down next to me. And, we exchanged hellos, and she was busy talking to her people, and I was busy talking to people from Grantsville, I think it was. But finally, she said something. She said, well, what's going on in Beloit? And I said, well, I'll tell you. And I went, iPad, career tech. I mentioned the wellness, and the board members were like, oh. And she said, when I said career tech, where'd you get money for that? I said, well, you should come and visit. We should have an exchange. And she said, oh, they all went, yeah. So I think that would be a nice thing to do, to have them visit our school, and we could visit theirs.
Thank you, Missy. I know I wasn't listed in the board packet for giving a report, but I did attend, so endure with me, please. I attended, and perhaps the most influential session that I attended was Community Relations, Legal and Policy Topics and Considerations, which actually was a 3-hour session. But it covered a tremendous amount of things. And the first was defamation. And when individuals come forward at the public offering for our televised board meetings, the fact that the defamation is an underlying responsibility of the individual that partakes the podium. And while as we as a board have the opportunity to reprimand them, we do need to ensure that they understand that defamation is truly a charge that could be brought forth against them. The next thing that they talked about were complaints, and that any complaint that is made against any individual within the school district is a matter of public record. So I found that was somewhat interesting. The next interesting component was regarding safety plans, and we have some outstanding safety plans within the district, both during school hours and after school hours, but they made a point of stressing that many districts have not thought about after school hours. And after school hours in places that perhaps are not within your school facilities, but are where your teams may be playing or participating in. And for example, if we have a group of students that may be engaging in an activity in Switzerland or in New York or New Orleans, what is our safety plan? So brought up some really great ideas and considerations of which I'm certain we're already covered on, but we probably need to take that next step with. The next area of interest was regarding booster clubs and Title IX. And I spoke with Janelle real briefly after the session and said that we probably want to refresh where we're at with it. But if booster clubs are specific to a sport or a program, that we need to ensure that the female-male counterparts are receiving the same level of support, whether it's from district funds or through the booster funds. So that was very informative. But probably two of the most important takeaways weren't necessarily from this session itself, but overall, when people read your badge and it said you're from Beloit, people would stop and say, what are you doing there that's so different? Why do we keep hearing Beloit, whether it's RTI, whether it's VOTEC, whether it's our arts programming? What are you doing there? What is it about Beloit? And they really couldn't get a good grasp on it. And to be honest, we're just going through the whole thing. It's an exciting opportunity, but it's like, what is it? And it's the people. And it truly is. And really, I probably could have finicularly described it a little better, but when it comes down to it, it's the people. And the people in Beloit truly are committed to what makes Beloit great. And so perhaps I didn't have the best response, but it was so exciting to hear so many people from so many different districts saying, what is it about Beloit that makes us hear about you? And one, we spent a lot of time in Beaver Dam in the summer, but the Beaver Dam, I had multiple individuals from the Beaver Dam Board of Education saying, wow, what is it about Beloit? Because our demographics are very similar, which surprises me in some regards. And it's the people. It truly is the people. So I want to say thank you to every individual within the school district of Beloit that makes it happen, because we're recognized. We're recognized by multiple individuals, tens of tens of hundreds. I don't want to say tens of thousands. I certainly don't want to extrapolate, but individuals within many people within the state saying, what is it about Beloit? And it's exciting, and it's about the people. So thank you to everybody for making Beloit what it is. And then in closing, Tony Evers talked about, and this was, we knew about it, but it was exciting to hear about it in the grand stage of things. And knowing that we offer outstanding things in Beloit, but it really opens that playing field to all of our surrounding districts and saying, and emulating and further expounding on the fact that any student within the high school realm within the state of Wisconsin has the opportunity to take up to 2 classes with any school district, whether it be at the high school level or any higher level of education institution within the state of Wisconsin without open enrolling. And that's phenomenal. And it really talks about how we are breaking down the barriers of any school district, but we're talking about what's best for kids and saying how can we provide in our tech ed department, in our arts department, how can we expand upon what we're doing great in Beloit and deliver that to everybody. So it's exciting times for education and it's exciting times for Beloit. And while the state of Wisconsin is doing exciting things, it's even more exciting what we're doing here in Beloit. So Beloit proud, Beloit's where it's at, and I want to say thank you to everybody. Steve, you guys are giggling at me, and I know I'm gushing at this point, but it was exciting. And I think that everybody that was up there heard it, felt it, and that's all that Milt was saying is perhaps a little regret, but we are where it's at, and we're setting the standard for Beloit, or we're setting the standard for Wisconsin, if not the nation. So thank you to everybody, and unless anybody has anything else, we'll move on then to the consent list. Seeing no objections, we are then at the point on the agenda for the consent list.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries. Next item, business action items. B, annual audit presentation, please.
I would move, Board of Education moves approval of the 2013 annual audit.
Second.
And a couple of comments, if possible.
Yes, please.
Okay, so every year, this is an important piece of what we do. It kind of reaffirms where we think we are and gives us some outside look. So this year we have new auditors, and we do that not because we had bad auditors before, but because it's a good idea to have new eyes, right? To see what we do and people come in and look differently. So thinking of the video we just saw, right? So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm really hoping that Wagner and CPAs and Associates did not have a bad math day when they looked at us. But we don't think they did because we got a clean audit. And with much thanks to all of our staff for the good work that's going on there. And I don't know if Janelle wants to. They gave us a few highlights, and I think Janelle's worked closely with them. And so besides public kudos to Janelle and staff, which I will offer again and again, but maybe you could give us just a couple of highlights that you pull out or that we think that the home audience listening into the warmth of their home might want to do.
I too would really like to give a lot of thanks for our staff. We had a lot of changes this year. On top of new auditors, we embraced new financial software, had 3 brand new staff in the finance department, and they did a fabulous job. So I'd really like to give them thanks. Our auditors, new auditors, very patient with our conversion to the new software, new staff. So I'd like to thank both of them. As John mentioned, we did have a clean opinion, which means that our financial statements and our auditor's opinion were fairly stated in all aspects. And so they gave it an unqualified opinion. Also, we have a financial statement audit, and then they also come in and audit state and federal funds. So there's 2 different audits. So we did not have any findings in the current year or the previous year in related to financial statements or grants.
Can you say that one more time?
Yes. Yeah. No current year or prior year findings in either the grant audit or the financial statement audit.
Boom.
So what that means is they didn't find any concerns that they wanted to bring to your attention. Also, internal control. We've continuously looked at our internal control. And what that is that's where we look at our processes. And we look for efficiency and order in the processes in finance. And that is what allows us to have complete data and to have highly accurate data, is because of the processes we follow. And as you guys know, a lot of the policies that you've put into place control our processes. So it starts at the policy level, and then we implement procedures based around that. So our auditors also let us know that we're doing a good job in the area of internal control, so we're safeguarding our assets, and we're deterring fraud and theft, and we have reliable, timely information. And some of the things you'll notice is we're trying to bring that timely financial information to you monthly or more often for your review as well. So they let us know that we have positive internal control and that we're really good about taking their recommendations and following them. And then our fund balance is in line with the board's target range of 14 to 20% as stated in board policy at 14.72%. And we do not cash flow borrow, which is wonderful because what that does is that allows us to have enough funds in reserves to cover those times where we don't have the inflows coming in to match up with things we have to pay out like payroll and other expenses. A lot of our major payments that come in, such as state equalization aid, they come in lump sums. They do not match when the funds have to go out. They are very delayed. So we have several months of the year where we really rely on our fund balance, our cash reserves. So those are the highlights, I guess, I'd like to point out. Do you guys have any questions on any of the slides or the financial statements?
Thank you, Janelle. John Winkleman, please.
No, just to reiterate, great job, and I think for the board as well, right? One of the things we clearly heard was management of fund balance was critical and will continue to be critical as people look at us in different ways. And I just go back to, if you think general public, right? We finished a wonderful referendum, and thank you for that, and we're going to open a dedicated school tomorrow night for that. But we have an interest rate that is amazing. When you start to look at, you read School Board Journal and you read about interest rates and you go, that's what they got? We're way better. We're way better. Once again, we're way better. And it is, what we heard is because of how we are managing our money and how we're paying attention to that. And so, again, thank you to the whole district staff for making that happen. But it's also, a reminder that it's our resolve to make those things happen as well and to pay attention to that question. So, thank you.
You mentioned our interest rate, and I do want to point out that, when I was recently talking with our financial advisor, she did let me know that it is still the lowest rate in history at 2.43 average percent interest on our bond issuance, saving our taxpayers about $8 million over the 20 years. So since you brought it up, I just wanted to highlight it again.
And she paused on that, but I'm going to repeat, saving $1 million, right? That's lots of zeros.
8 million.
So, right.
Thank you, John. At this point, we are past 9 o'clock. I would ask for a motion to extend the meeting.
Move to extend the meeting till 9:30
Or till done.
or till done,
We'll be done by 9:30.
whichever comes last.
Second.
Thank you, John. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? And those opposed? Was that a nay, Mr. Rand? All right, thank you. Continuing on, Mr. Akam.
I just, that lowest interest rate ever, still holding that record. I think frankly, our interest rate belongs in the all-time interest rate Hall of Fame. Well done.
Thank you, John. Is there anything further on the annual audit presentation at this time? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries. We're now at budget adjustments.
Move approval.
Discussion? One question, if I may. Under support services, the 250 category, business administration. Janelle, can you help me with that one? Because it is a larger number, what that encompasses? Or John, if you know, it's the $1.3 million.
We talked about a number of those.
Okay, I just couldn't place it as I was going through. I'm sure it's there,
I think it's an internal movement,
okay.
because there's another one down below of $1.2 million, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the
A
1
negative under
million,
debt service.
Debt service question change, right?
Yeah, they
The
kind of
1
offset
million.
one another.
1,000,003 is actually a pretty good example of our internal control. What that was our lease payment, and we had to reclassify it to meet the Wisconsin Uniform Financial Accounting requirements.
Outstanding.
So when we originally budgeted for it, we put it in debt service, thinking that was the right category. We had to move it to business services in accordance with the guidelines that the state required. So it's just an internal move.
Great,
But
thank
you
you.
have to see it because we're crossing functions.
No, and I appreciate that. And I have to say one thing, when we see these on a month-to-month basis, it is so clear, and I miss that from the below with the debt services and transposing the two. So it really helps me understand what we're doing, and I want to thank you for giving these to us on a monthly basis and being so clear with those. Any other discussion or questions on this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries.
Madam
Moving-
President, I would move items D, E, and F, since they're all first readings in one motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? John Aiken, please.
I'd like to propose a very small, friendly amendment to 731.1 to add the words "or defaced" to the final sentence. So it will read, "District employees found to have willfully destroyed or defaced school property may be disciplined for their conduct up to and including termination from employment." And I add that in to keep it consistent with the rest of the policy, with the title of the policy, and to make sure that we don't appear to be giving district employees breaks that we wouldn't give to our students.
Thank you, John. Since that was proposed as a friendly amendment, would the maker of the motion be amenable? I hear a yes, and the seconder, yes as well. So that is accepted as a friendly amendment. Are there any questions or concerns or discussion further? I do have one on 722.1 Rule 1, and what I would like is, I'm asking the committee to look at point 1, last sentence, where it reads, "The person in charge shall complete the accident report form immediately after the accident has occurred," and compare that with the item 2, "Accident form shall be sent to the principal's office immediately upon completion." I think we have a conflict with terminology there. Perhaps, because I read that the person in charge typically within our school is the principal, so the principal wouldn't necessarily need to send it to themselves. So if we can just kind of reevaluate the language that we have there, and then also in point 1, the second or third boxed in area, the principal or designee with perform, if we could change that to will perform or shall perform, so grammatically correcting that one. Again, not asking for anything this evening, but before it comes back for second reading, to look at the language in 1 and 2 and correct the with to will or shall would be greatly appreciated. Any other discussions, suggestions, or otherwise questions for the 3 items that have been moved forward? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries. We are now at G, personnel recommendations.
Move approval of Exhibit A and B.
It's been moved and forwarded. Is there any discussion for Exhibit A or Exhibit B? Please refer to the revised Exhibit A dated 1/28/2014. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries, and that was for Exhibit A and Exhibit B. Next up is discussion items. Are there any items of interest for consideration at future meetings?
One.
John?
Just one, as we watch one of our colleague districts up the road a ways think about how we protect academic honesty. It would be interesting to hear what we're doing, because I know we're doing stuff, and maybe it would be helpful to kind of put that out as a reminder overall, kind of what's happening in the district and kind of where we're going, what we're thinking. So maybe if Lene's team or Tom's team or somebody from the high school wants to talk about academic honesty, I would appreciate hearing some more about that.
Are you
and
requesting-
Might be good for parents to hear that too. So I don't know, just a question.
John, let me clarify then. Are you requesting that at the curriculum level, at policy level, or at the full board level?
I was thinking a nice update to start us off, and then if there's recommendations from the staff team, that we could consider those.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Are there others? Seeing none, let's announce future board meeting dates. We have committee meetings coming up on February the 11th. Those will include finance, transportation, and property, curriculum and instruction, and policy and personnel. And our next televised business meeting is scheduled for February the 25th. Unless I hear any objections at this point,
Don't forget ribbon cutting again. Todd,
tomorrow,
Timberwolves.
5 p.m.
Timberwolves.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that again, Michael. I know that was not an objection to adjournment because you'd be very happy to adjourn at this point. So unless I see any other individuals that may wish to object, at this point we shall be adjourned. We are adjourned, folks. Thank you very much. Have a good night.